Hi,
Hi,
what's your name?
my name is Bobby Gidda.
Okay, and where and when were you born?
I was born in 95,
Oh, okay,
1985.
1985, in Canada,
In Canada, right here in Kelowna.
Kelowna. Okay, and so can you share something about your family's immigration history and their story in Kelowna?
Sure. So my grandfather was the one that originally immigrated here in the Okanagan.
What was his name?
His name was Maytab Singita,
Okay,
and I believe it was the late 50s is when he immigrated. I believe it was 58.
okay.
And he got his start in one of the sawmills at the time,
So he immigrated from Punjab.
Punjab, India,
Okay. Do you know the village?
Lumbra,
Lambda. Okay.
which is northern part of India, kind of in the Jalandhar, Shabad area.
Okay. Okay.
It's a very small,
Yeah.
very small area.
Okay.
Yeah, so he spent, from my memory, I believe he had a grade 4 education,
Okay.
and him and his brothers kind of immigrated to Canada.
In 1958.
He arrived in 58, but I believe his brother arrived a little bit earlier.
Okay. And so where did they come to Vancouver?
Well, they landed in Vancouver, but they kind of settled here in the Okanagan Valley.
Okay.
My grandfather worked in a sawmill in Kamloops,
Okay.
and he did that for about 7 years.
7 years?
7 years to build enough money to bring the rest of his family over. And during the weekends, he kind of worked here in West Kelowna
Okay.
in the apple orchards, and that's kind of where our family really got our start in farming practice here in BC and Canada.
Okay.
In India, he was a farmer there as well, but it takes time to
Of course.
build income to buy land.
Yeah.
And at that time, land was
Relatively cheaper.
relatively cheaper than what it is now. But
Yeah.
it took about 5 to 7 years to get enough income to bring the rest of my family over. So it would have been 3 sons and his wife,
Okay.
and they all lived right here in West Bank or West Kelowna now it's called.
Yeah.
Hard family, hard-working family. My father being the oldest, he was 9 years old when he immigrated here. And at that time, not speaking a word of English, it was a struggle for the family. But
Yeah.
they were all young boys, so they picked up the language fairly quickly. And by the age of 12, my father was doing a lot of the paperwork for my grandfather and his business.
Okay. So he got involved in the family business at a quite early age.
Very early
And what
age.
kind of a farm? What kind of farm did you guys have at that time?
I was apple orchards.
Apple orchards.
Apples.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where my grandfather got his start in his kind of training, is the apple orchards, because there was a lot of apple orchards at that time in this area.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned, working in the sawmill, and a man that only has a grade 4 education got to pretty much the top of the food chain there. I believe it was called a grader.
Grader. Yeah.
So he was able to choose.
I think
okay,
grader was one of the top positions in
Yeah,
a
so a
sawmill.
grader basically gets to choose which, that piece of wood that comes in. He's going to decide, okay, this log is going to be lumber, it's going to be sawdust.
Yeah.
So that was his job, and for a man with no education,
No education at all. Yeah.
he had the respect of the owners, and very hardworking man. And that's the main reason we're here today, right,
Yeah.
is because of his hard work. I mean, the facility that we're in now, it's all started all those years ago because of his hard work.
So is this the land like where the farm used to be back then? What he purchased, or this was
This was
purchased
purchased
later?
afterwards.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The land that he purchased is further in West Bank, but uh, like I said, the family started with apples, and then as my father and his brothers got old enough, they got into the business a little bit more. My grandfather was the mindset of once they graduated, go get a job, go work, and they all worked other places, and they all wound up back, in the family business because they enjoyed being outside working with their hands.
Yeah.
My father kind of really got really involved into the business. He took it forward quite a bit. In the early 90s, we became the largest apple growers here in West Kelowna,
Okay.
West Bank.
Very nice.
And then with my brother, or with my uncles and my father, my grandfather, we became the largest independent grape growers. And
Okay.
that was about the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So we had roughly about 250 acres of grapes
Okay.
and varietals that a lot of people didn't have. Interesting story about my family is kind of in the early 80s, I believe it was, is when the government was telling a lot of the farmers to rip out their grapes and put the new grapes in.
Mm-hmm.
And they could either choose cash payout or they could continue on and continue farming. So we continued farming,
Okay.
and with the drive and the passion that the family had, we got to the top.
Very nice.
And the nice thing about the family, right? So it was my grandfather, my grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
my father, his two brothers, and their wives, all working
In the same family business,
in the family business.
which was of after apples, the grapes.
Apples, grapes, and then about the mid 80s, we had some cherry trees as well.
Okay. And I believe your family was one of the first few families to be in Kelowna from Punjab. Is that right?
Correct. From my understanding, from the stories that my father told me, when they immigrated here to West Kelowna or West Bank, I believe it was 15 years before another Indo-Canadian family moved here to West Kelowna.
Okay. So they were the only one.
There was only one.
Oh,
And
okay.
at that time, for the people that know the area, Kelowna didn't have a bridge. It was just a ferry going back and forth.
Okay.
So there was a few families in Kelowna, but no one over here.
In West Bank.
So it was a while before they
Okay.
really got to see their culture.
Yeah.
Especially at a young age, right? You don't really get to interact with a lot of the people there. And I remember when my father got married, to go talk to my mother in India. I believe they had to book an appointment with they were called STO. What do they call
In India?
Yeah,
Like a PCO.
The
PCO booth.
PCO.
Yeah.
so you had to book an appointment.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
at that time it was like $12 or something like that per minute
Per
to
minute.
make a call. So the conversation were pretty quick.
Yeah.
How are you? I'm good. Good.
So your father got married in India. He
Yeah.
went to India to get married.
Myself, my sister, we all got married in India. My uncles all got married in India.
Okay.
So,
Continuing the family tradition.
well, it's not the family tradition. It's it's the tradition that I grew up with
Yeah.
my grandfather, with my mother. It's just that something about India you just can't stay away from.
Yeah. And also, can you also share about like your family's, your family story about starting this, starting in the wine business? I believe you were the first guys to enter the wine business, being a South Asian family. Is that right?
Yeah,
In
so,
the Okanagan area.
The main reason we got into the wine business is, like I mentioned, in the early 90s we were the largest grape growers. what happened is there was a point where the wineries that we were selling our grapes to, price that we were getting for the grapes went down,
Okay.
but the price that they were selling their wine for was going up.
Hmm.
And a smart man that my family is, and my dad thought, why that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It should be a win-win situation. If their price is going up, our price should go up too.
Exactly.
So the family got together and decided that that's not how we operate. So at that point, they decided to build a winery.
Okay.
So it took about 2 years, and the first vintage we released was 1999, and the facility opened up in 2000.
Okay.
And so at 2000, we were the first Indo-Canadian family to own a winery here in Canada.
In entire Canada.
I believe it was entire Canada.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
Yeah, but at least in entire BC, I believe.
in BC for sure.
Yeah. Very nice.
And then, we at that time there's only a handful of wineries. I think maybe 20, 30, and very good growth. And like I mentioned, with the family working together and building the business, it did really well.
Okay.
And then with myself, my sister, my brother, as we grow older, our family separated.
Okay.
And then everything was split up.
Okay.
And we took the proceeds from that and built this winery, Volcanic Hills.
Okay.
And we opened that in 2010.
The Volcanic Hills.
Volcanic Hills.
Okay.
2010 we opened up. Our family got about 80 acres of property here in West Kelowna. We're still growing apples. We still got the cherries.
Oh, okay.
Still got the grapes.
Grapes, yeah.
But we also run a small little fruit stand as well. So we have about an acre of soft fruits, so peaches, plums, nectarines.
Okay.
And obviously the wine.
The
that we
wine,
do.
yeah. Very nice.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of history in a very short period of time.
Yeah. And like, do you recollect any stories that your grandfather, your father might have told you? Like how was it, like, for them, growing up in Canada? Like your father pretty much grew up in Canada, right?
Yeah, I mean.
And your grandfather, like when there were not a lot of South Asian families over here, how was the community life back then? Do you have any idea?
Well, it was all Caucasian, white people.
Yeah.
But luckily, and they didn't experience any hatred or racism. Being a very small community, everyone knew everyone. It was a very small community, but very tight. At the time, everyone knew everyone. So,
Yeah.
luckily, being in a small community, we didn't experience any discrimination. Everyone worked together, and from the size of the city now, it's done well for itself.
Yeah, that's true. Anything else that you want to share with us?
Yeah, maybe some big awards that we won. Being a new winery, my grandfather was 83 when he passed away.
Okay.
And in his final year of being alive, he still farmed.
He still farmed. He still worked. Okay.
Still worked.
Very impressive.
Basically, with the farming business and grapes, for example, normally around kind of January, February is when we do our pruning. So I remember he was in the vineyard in this last year, and he was still out there pruning the grapes. That man always loved to be outside working. Even my grandmother, who's no longer with us, she was a very hardworking woman as well. Worked to her last days, and both of them just enjoyed life. They worked hard, and because of that work ethic, that's why I'm here in front of you.
Yeah.
In this beautiful winery, enjoying life.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, thank you so much for taking out the time to share your family's history of being in Canada.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure.